You ready? All right, being 7:01, we'll call the common council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, roll call has been taken. Thank you. We need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Besaw,
Second.
second by Mr. Boucher. Any additions or corrections to that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of February 2024 Common Council meeting minutes. Get a motion?
So move, Your Honor.
Motion made by Mr. Barrington,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Ritchie. Any additions or corrections to those? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's carried by all as well. Mr. Dorsey, authorization to pay the bills.
Your Honor, make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $1,115,012.50.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Fichet. Any additions or corrections to those? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
Mr. Dorsey, Barrington, and Mr. Besaw. That motion carried 9-0. All right, next on the agenda, public comment. Public comment. If you would, please come to the center chair up there just so we can hear you speak. State your name, your address, and please keep it to 3 minutes.
My name is Kelly Keither. I live at 639 East Quincy Street. I've been a resident of this city since 2007. When I first moved here, garbage, this is going to sound real trivial, but you and I, Your Honor, have had this discussion already about garbage. I have been and I have looked from town of Hortonia, Hortonville, just north of town here, all the way around in the circle. All the towns connected to the London borders have contracts for garbage. We are the only municipality except for town of Wapaka, town of Muckwa, everybody else. This contract, $146 average cost for Outagamie County jurisdictions for garbage. We are over $240 to $250 a year because this city has sat back and said, we don't want to raise your taxes by putting garbage on your tax bill. The problem is by doing that, you have sent out absolutely no competitive bidding. There's no competition. It has been allowed to become a monopoly. They can raise the rates anytime they want, which they have done repeatedly. And to the negligence of this common council and this city government, it's been allowed to happen. And I think it's about time that you guys stand up for the residents that are being taken advantage of like this and give them an opportunity to pay what's right and fair, not what a monopoly has in this town. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Any other public comment? All right, hearing no more public comment, we'll move on to standing special committees. Board of Public Works, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Your Honor. Board of Public Works met Monday, March 4th at 5:15. Motion is called to order at 5:15. After the pledge of allegiance, there was no changes to the agenda. Motion made by second to adopt the agenda. Motion carried by all. Public input. Lynn Tank spoke to the committee in support of designated parking for downtown residents. John Hess also made mention of an incident at the boat docks at Riverside Park where there was some damage. It was reported and handled. Motion made in second for approval of the February 5th minutes. Motion carried by all. Wastewater treatment plan update. Wastewater notes were included in the packet. Next was approve and recommend to council City of New London parking policy. Director Garsky brought back to the committee further discussion of this policy after being deferred at the February 20th, 2024 common council meeting. A recap was provided by Director Garsky relating to the contents of the past meetings and recommendations leading up to the creation of the policy. Further supporting information from other communities and their policies were provided by the director. A thorough discussion took place with Director Garsky, Chief Schleter, and present members. Permission for temporary parking was brought up for those visiting residents residing in the downtown district as a solution to that concern. Temporary parking would be handled through the police department, which allows them to identify vehicles and know how long they would be parking overnight. Motion was made and seconded for approval and recommending to council City of New London parking policy with edits to include a permit will be issued per legal registered licensed vehicle and addition of visitor parking allowed per prior permission through the police department. Motion carried 9-1. Roberts opposed. Next was approval and recommend to council ordinance modifying parking limits to designated streets and city properties. Director Garsky brought back to the committee after being deferred back to the February 20th, 2024 common council meeting. This ordinance for parking limits related to city-owned and maintained parking lots recognize no parking 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. except designated by a permit only. Streets to be included: Wisconsin Street, State Street, Lincoln Street, St. John's Place, and Park Street were also added to the no parking 3 to 6 a.m. This addition would keep residents from parking on those streets when winter parking rules were no longer in place. The addition of these streets will also help with street sweeping efforts. Motion made and was second to recommend and approve to council ordinance to amend parking limits to designated streets and city property as proposed. Motion carried 9-1. Roberts opposed. Next was a recommend and approve to council agreement with McMahon for general engineering services for the City of New London. Director Garsky brought to the committee contract related to unscheduled small scale items where a recommendation for an engineer is needed. Services were part of our operating budget. Motion made in a second to approve contract with McMahon for general engineering services for the City of New London. Motion carried by all. Next, a recommended council contract for AECOMS for groundwater monitoring of the County S landfill. Director Garsky recommended that the contract with AECOM for continued test monitoring of the landfill site. The services include reports that were submitted to the DNR, site inspection and report, and groundwater samples that are tested at the lab with a report generated for the DNR. Made and seconded to approve the contract with AECOM for continuing monitoring for the County S landfill. Motion carried by all. Next was discussion to recommend to council a contract with DTAC LLC for disposal fee of tree and brush debris. Director Garsky recommended the contract be extended for another year with DTAC LLC for tree and branch debris disposal. Motion made and seconded to approve the contract with DTAC LLC for disposal of tree and brush debris. Motion carried by all 10-0. Director's report. The director's memo included in the packet and was reviewed by the board. Anniversaries this month: Lane Hannadell, wastewater operator, 3 years of service. Tim O'Brien, mechanic, 4 years of service. Future agenda items: large item disposal services. Date and time of the next Public Works meeting, April 8th, 5:15, deviated from the normal schedule. There was no further discussion. Motion made and second to adjourn at 6:34. Motion carried by all. I'd like to make a motion to consider approval for the parking policy.
Motion made by Mr. Hess,
Second.
second by Mr. Herder. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballot.
Aye.
Motion is carried, 8 yes, 1 no.
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the ordinance modifying parking limits to designated streets and city properties, first reading.
Motion made by Mr. Hess, seconded by Mr. Dorsey. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion's also carried, 8 yes, 1 no.
Next, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the agreement with McMahon for general engineering services.
Motion made by Mr. Hess,
Second.
second by Mr. Ritchie. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion's carried by all.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of agreement with AECOM for 2024 groundwater monitoring services at the County Highway S landfill.
That motion's been made by Mr. Hess,
Second.
second by Mr. Barrington. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion's carried, 9-0.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of agreement with DTAC LLC in the amount of $12,000 for brush debris disposal.
Motion made by Mr. Hess. Second by Mr. Herder. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion's carried, 9-0 as well.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Moving right along to Finance and Personnel, Mr. Dorsey.
Yes, Your Honor. Finance Personnel Committee met February 28th. Meeting was called to order at 5:15. Motion made by Roberts, second by Barrington to approve the agenda. Motion was made by Roberts, second by Shea to approve this February 7th meeting minutes. Adam Survey. City of New London Real Estate Assessor made tax collection corrections for the 2023 payable 2024 tax collection year. 4 properties built out as complete construction and the parcels were still in the construction phase. Adam stated that he now has his safeguards in place along with the new building inspection software, allowing for a double check of partial constructions at the year end. The committee thanked Adam for his explanation of the year end process and changes to ensure accuracy moving forward. City Administrator Chad Horth presented an adjustment to the starting salary promotion compensation scale. The adjustment of 1.5% would keep competitive for hiring of new staff and promotion of the current staff. Discussion commenced on the adjustment between the committee and Mr. Horth. Motion was made by Roberts to recommend to council approval of the 1.5% adjustment to the compensation scale. This motion failed for failure of a second motion. Alderman Roberts called for a point of order. Chairman Dorsey ended the discussion. Compensation schedule will be presented at the next finance meeting on April 3rd. Finance Director monthly reports are presented. Director's report was discussed. Alderman Friche requested a report of state district aids for taxes. There be no further business. The motion was made by Roberts, second by Friche to adjourn. The next Finance Committee meeting will be held in the council chambers on April 3rd at 5:15. Chairman Dorsey asked the committee to review the compensation schedule in advance of the next meeting. I will make a motion to approve the monthly license list.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey, seconded by Mr. Herder. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
That is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Committee of the Whole meeting, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Your Honor. Committee of the Whole special meeting was held Monday, March 4th, 2024. Called to order at 6:36. Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda, carried 9-0. Next was a motion to accept offer to purchase a property at 406 South Pearl Street by Cornerstone Holding of Wisconsin LLC, an amount of $75,000. Motion carried 9-0. There's no other business. Motion was made and second to adjourn. It's carried 9-0. Meeting was adjourned at 6:55. I'd like to make the motion to approve accepting offer to purchase the property at 401 South Pearl Street by Cornerstone Holding of Wisconsin LLC, an amount of $75,000.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hess, seconded by Mr. Dorsey. Any additions or corrections?
Got a question. At that meeting, there was asked, what was the total investment in that property? And it wasn't given. I was just wondering if there was any update on how much we spent on that property.
I do not have any of those numbers. I do have a correction though, that committee of the whole meeting, Mr. Barrington asked if the 75,000 from the sale would go towards the 500,000 to the city, that the city committed to the project. In that discussion, going back and looking at it, Chad said that that was correct. However, that is an addition to the $500,000. Public comment?
Just an explanation on that. The reason for the $75,000 going directly back to the library was because the funding that the library put in to purchase that property and to raise the property came from donations.
Yes.
And so the $75,000 is replacing those donations. So that's why it's separate from the pledge that the city.
Correct, thank you.
I just want to make sure that it's this offer, but I'm still gonna still can be subject to a formal offer being created. Sale, I want to make sure that all the things that need to be done to make that sale complete. In fact, just so you understand that.
Correct. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
The minutes do have the incorrect address. It should be the 401 South Pearl and not the 406. So that'll be corrected. The 406 is the mailing address. 401 is the actual address of the property.
Thank you, Clerk Ryerson. Any other additions or corrections? Hearing none, please cast your ballots.
Aye.
Motion's carried 9-0.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. All right, Park and Recreation, Mr. Bisa.
I have no minutes. We had no meeting last month.
Perfect, thank you very much. Planning Commission, Mr. Ritchie.
Meeting was called to order at 5:15. Members present was Bassett, Gabert, Herder, Hunchke, and Steingraber. Who participated in the Pledge of Allegiance. A motion was made by Steingraber to adopt the agenda, seconded by Gabert. The January 25, 2024 minutes were reviewed. Motion by Bassett and by Herder to approve them. First item on the agenda was proposed temporary ground sign approval for Aldi's Incorporated. A motion was made to approve the temporary sign by Gabert, seconded by Steingraber. The second item on the list was approval of an accessory structure at 905 House Road that was larger and taller than the ordinance currently allows without planning commission approval. Motion was made by Ritchie to approve a 40 by 62 by 16-foot structure. Seconded by Steingraber, carried by all. Motion was made to adjourn by Gabert, seconded by Steingraber at 5:22. Okay, I need a gonna make a motion for a temporary sign for Aldi's.
Yeah, that don't need, yeah. Yeah, you don't need council approval for that.
Okay, then I need council approval for 40 by 62 by 16
Uh,
on House Road, 905 House Road. But I don't need it for that neither.
No, I think when
Okay.
we read the agenda, neither of those items go to council.
Okay.
right, the only thing I have for you is we don't need to approve nothing. Right?
Okay, then that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Next on the agenda is economic development, Mr. Roberts.
Yes, Your Honor. We had an economic development meeting on Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. After roll call was taken, meeting was called to order at 5:15. It was motioned and second and approved the agenda. The minutes were reviewed. There was a correction to remove information about Mindful Movements Yoga Studio from the business updates report. It was provided in some notes, but was not verbally reported or discussed in business update presentation. This motion and second to approve the minutes and it carried by all. February 7th minutes were reviewed. That was January 30th was the last one. This one was a special economic development meeting on February 7th was reviewed and motion to approve the minutes and carried by all. No public comment was provided. The committee continued discussion about downtown placemaking ideas, focusing on the city's property west and north of Wolf River Pub, formerly known as John's Bar, which ties into the existing parkland along the river. Chairman Roberts provided a suggestion to hire an architect to create a conceptual design to tie the area together and support new public placemaking activities like special events, concerts, rentals, movies, poetry, and more. Committee members discussed the need for public input and questioned if any grants were available to assist with planning or development costs. Staff will work on drafting some survey questions for public engagement and search out grant opportunities for future consideration. The committee discussed options and ideas for creating a multi-year plan to update the city's Highway 45 billboard. Currently, advertisements are placed on each side of the sign and ad costs are shared with the New London Tourism Commission. The New London School District has also expressed interest in participating in the rotation of future advertising opportunities. Bishop raised the question of whether there is an option for a multi-year contract with the advertising company to secure a more favorable rate. Horth will investigate the possibility. Committee members were encouraged to think of ideas for future advertising content. Chamber Director's Business Report, Mindful Movements Yoga Studio is opening at 213 West North Water Street on February 28th. New London Star Market LLC opened on February 12th at 1931 North Shawano Street, Suite 200. Tyson Food has invested $50 million into a new hot dog automation line at the New London plant. Commercial listings, the Grand Cinema Theater and New London Lanes Hilbys are still on the market for sale. The Chamber and City are keeping an eye out for potential grants that may be released by the state. City Administrator's Report. On February 1st, Kapitsky and Horth attended a Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation workshop on placemaking and transforming underutilized spaces. They also have been working on setting up multiple business meet and greet meetings. Keep in contact with area businesses. Horth also reported that the state provided information that the city added 71 housing units in 2023. Future agenda items were discussed. The committee is anticipated to hold the next meeting on Tuesday, March 26, 2024 at 5:15. It was motion and second to adjourn at 6:03, carried by all. And that is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Moving along to minutes and reports distributed. Those will stand as read in your packets. And reports of officers and recent events and announcements to the public. We'll start off with the mayor's announcements. I have a few of them today. First off, we'll start off with the Arbor Day proclamation. Official proclamation for the Tree City, USA. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they're planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Mark Herter, Mayor of the City of New London, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 26, 2024, as Arbor Day in the City of New London, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you. I'd like to read, I'm up for re-election. I'm Mayor Mark Herter, and I'm your 2024 mayoral incumbent for New London. 3 key factors I would like to leave you with tonight. I am for improving New London with grant dollars. I will continue the aggressive infrastructure revitalization, and most importantly, I will continue to represent both like-minded and none equally at all levels of government with a 24/7 open door listening policy. Please vote Mark Herter for mayor of New London, April 2nd. And with that, that brings us up next to our city administrator report. Our city administrator is away on vacation, so I will be reading his report. Just a reminder that if you are a downtown business or property owner and considering some building facade improvements this year, check out the city's building facade improvement grant program. This year's 50-50 matching grant was increased to $4,000. The initial grant application process is due by Friday, March 29th at 11 a.m. And applications can be found on the city's website under the Business and Economic Development tabs. I'd like to recognize our city clerk, Nicole Ryerson, for 3 years of service with the city of New London on March 16th. Thank you, Nicole. And with that, up next is Chief of Police, Mr. Schleter.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just got 3 anniversaries. Mike Carl, 18 years, Jenna Krewald, 4 years, Chase Schrader, 13 years.
And thank you for those, Chief.
Thank you.
Director of Public Works, Mr. Garsky.
Thank you, Your Honor. WISDOT will be holding their pre-construction meeting for the 2024 downtown reconstruct on March 26th. We hope to find out the construction schedule at that meeting. Once we have a solid timeline, I will post to the city website, Public Works page under projects. And that is all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Garsky. Director of Parks and Recreation, Ms. Soul.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the Arbor Day proclamation. I appreciate that. That helps with our Tree City USA reapplication.
You are welcome.
My first announcement is that we ask that you hip hop to the JC's Dog Park on April 6th at 11 a.m. for a dog egg hunt. There will be sections for small and large dogs with enough treat-filled eggs to go around. No need to register for this event. Just bring your pup and a basket for a good time. We also have received word from the Easter Bunny that he will be hiding some of his eggs at the Aquatic and Fitness Center. So on March 29th, which is a Friday, we will need the kids to join us at 1:15 PM to get them out of the pool. All participants will go home with a treat bag. And then, do you or someone you know love pickleball? Well, we have you covered with a Call Your Own League starting in May. We are offering 2 leagues, a singles league and a doubles league. So just give our office a call today for more information on that at 982-8521. And then just a reminder that summer is right around the corner and we have heard your plea. All summer registration opens April 1st. That includes not only Camp Hatton, but also community gardens, enrichment classes, and so much more. So just keep an eye out on our Facebook page and our website for more information to come. And that's all I'll have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sol. Fire Department, Mr. Ritchie, do you have an update?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
All right, moving right along. Utility Manager, Mr. Bassett.
Thank you, Your Honor. On February 29th around 5 PM, we had breaker 82 operate at Winter South that affected hundreds of our customers here in New London. Power was interrupted for 2 to 3 seconds. Crews responded and found a 3,000 amp fault occurred. They patrolled our lines looking for the exact cause until dark and then followed up the next day. We could not confirm a cause for that outage. Usually in the past, this type of operation is caused by an animal contact. Our electric crews are trimming trees and our water crews, due to the warm weather, are replacing some lead services. And in April, water crews will be flushing hydrants from April 22nd to the 25th. And then last, I'd like to recognize Tony Burton for a year of service with that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bassett. City Clerk, Ms. Rogers.
I just want to call attention that the early in-person voting is going on now. So anyone who's interested in voting before the April 2nd election can do so during normal business hours at the municipal building. So 7:30 to 4:30, Monday through Thursdays, 7:30 to 11:30 on Fridays. And that's from now, the remainder of this week and all next week. And then the general or the election is on April 2nd. Polls are open across the state from 7 AM until 8 PM.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. The only thing, yes,
I'd just like to make a comment to thank Mr. Garsky for coming up with the brush dump plan that we have over there. I've been getting a lot of favorable comments from people in town. It's about time people started paying their fair share. That's all I have.
thank you, Mr. Beesaw. Hearing nothing else, all I have is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Roberts,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Beesaw. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.